And we're objectively unpacking the absolutely explosive allegations of rigging and controversial officiating that blew up after the 2026 World Cup round of 16 match between Argentina and Egypt. I mean, this was a game hailed as an absolute tournament classic by some and a literal robbery by others. Today, we're sticking strictly to the reports, expert analysis, and those fiery post-match statements to figure out exactly what went down on the pitch in Atlanta.
And we've really got to start with this striking claim from Egypt's midfielder Mostafa Zico, because it completely set the tone for the massive fallout after Argentina's dramatic win. He didn't mince words, stating the tournament was rigged, the referee was unfair. He even went as far as to say that a 2-0 lead simply isn't enough to beat Argentina. You know, this wasn't just a frustrated player letting off some steam. This literally became the catalyst for a massive international debate about bias in football.
Section 1. A rigged World Cup? Let's decode this post-match outrage. Because it wasn't just the players sounding off. Egypt's head coach, Hassam Hassan, publicly pointed the finger at external commercial factors. He said perhaps they wanted to keep the world champions in the competition, perhaps they wanted Messi to stay. Now that is a huge accusation. Hassan was explicitly claiming the defending champions got preferential treatment because, well, a tournament without Lionel Messi is bad for business, and he's suggesting that actually influenced the officiating.
Now, to really understand the sheer outrage from the Egyptian side, you just have to look at the final scoreline, 3-2. It was a completely heartbreaking loss for Egypt, especially since they initially held a stunning 2-0 lead against the world champs. I mean, just imagine the emotional whiplash here, right? You're the underdog, you're dominating the defending champions, you have a crucial goal wiped off the board, and then you watch your hard-fought lead completely evaporate in the dying minutes of a knockout match.
Which brings us to Section 2, the disallowed goal. Let's unpack that infamous 58th minute VAR call.
Okay, let's walk through the timeline that completely shattered Egypt's momentum. We're in the 58th minute. A minor foul by Marwan Attia on Argentina's Lisandro Martinez happens. The ref, he lets play continue. Over 10 to 20 seconds pass as Egypt goes on this stunning full-pitch breakaway, culminating in Mosta Zico burying the ball in the back of the net. But VAR steps in. They literally go back nearly 100 yards down the pitch to flag that initial challenge, and just like that, Egypt's crucial 2-0 advantage is wiped off the board.
This immense distance and time delay is exactly what got Egyptian football experts asking if a double standard was at play with French referee François Letexier. Ahmad Youssef from BBC Radio posed a really compelling question. He asked, would Messi's goal have been canceled for a 20-second-old challenge if he had been wearing an Argentina jersey? The deep frustration here is all about a perceived lack of consistency in how these rules are actually applied.
And that leads right into Section 3, the VAR debate, where experts are totally divided on protocol versus reach.
What's really fascinating is the stark divide in expert opinion on this specific call. On one side, you've got former FIFA referee Mark Clattenburg and analyst Rob Green arguing this was a massive overreach. Clattenburg points out it was a subjective, super minor foul, basically someone stepping on a toe, and entirely inconsistent with how physical the rest of the tournament had been. He argues VAR shouldn't be digging that far back. But on the flip side, Dr. Joe Mocknick, another officiating expert, insists it perfectly fulfilled the protocol. His take is that the foul led cleanly to possession, and that possession led directly to the goal. So in his eyes, it's a mandatory intervention regardless of the time or distance.
Moving on to Section 4, ignoring the X gesture. This was a major breach of anti-racism protocol. So for a little context, the X gesture is FIFA's officially adopted signal to report racial discrimination. If a player or coach crosses their arms in an X in front of the referee, the official is strictly required by the rulebook to immediately stop the game and follow a 3-step response procedure. In severe cases, it can even lead to the match being suspended or canceled. It is an absolutely critical safety and respect protocol. It's not optional.
But during this match, Coach Hassam Hassan formed this exact X gesture to report an incident. And shockingly, instead of pausing the match and initiating the required procedure, the referee completely ignored the anti-racism appeal. Instead, Lexier actually silenced Hassan by flashing a yellow card. To make matters worse, a coaching staff member was later shown a red card in the middle of all this chaos. It left the Egyptian bench in ruins and really cemented their belief that they were facing a severe injustice.
Section 5. The comeback and fallout, and the mountain of grievances that followed.
Because Egypt's overall frustration wasn't just about one single call. It was this heavy culmination of issues. Yes, it started with Zico's disallowed goal and that ignored Eggs gesture, but they also pointed to an ignored penalty claim where Alexis McAllister appeared to pull Hamdi Fatih's shirt right before Argentina's winning goal. On top of that, they cited a questionable foul called against Salah that denied him a clean scoring chance. Coach Hassan even went after the scheduling, pointing out how unreasonable a 12 p.m. noon kickoff time is. I mean, he asked when players are supposed to eat their pre-match meals, 7:30 in the morning? The grievances just kept piling up.
And amidst this mountain of perceived injustice, the actual gameplay was an absolute roller coaster. Even after the disallowed goal, Zico scored a completely legal one in the 67th minute to put Egypt up 2-0. But then, Argentina staged a breathtaking late comeback. Romero scored in the 79th, Messi netted a penalty equalizer in the 83rd, and Enzo Fernandez scored a devastating winner deep in stoppage time. So from Egypt's perspective, they were robbed of a historic victory against the world champions by forces both on and off the ball.
Ultimately, when we look back at the anatomy of this World Cup controversy, we have to ask a fundamental question about modern football. Did VAR protect the rules of the game by perfectly fulfilling its protocol? Or did its extreme application, literally rolling back time and distance to erase a magical moment, ruin the spirit of the sport and damage its integrity? That is the debate that's going to echo long after the final whistle. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. And as always, keep a critical eye on what you see out there on the pitch.